In 1974, when a federal court order mandated that the buses be used to desegregate Boston, the city of Boston was shaken. Violence broke out as people tried to resist the changes. In this largely Catholic city, the Catholic Church had great potential in guiding the people of Boston in the right direction. Cardinal Medeiros was able to provide this leadership. However, he left behind difficult circumstances, crippling his successor, Humberto Medeiros. Although Medeiros proved his leadership capabilities while working in Brownsville, Texas, his ethnicity and Cardinal Cushing's bleak legacy disabled him from influencing the Boston area as he had once influenced Texas. Cardinal Humberto Medeiros' inability to provide guidance allowed for the people of Boston to be led astray by continuing their racist, violent actions while believing they were doing the morally correct thing. Humberto Medeiros was born in 1915 in Ares, Portugal, then moved to the United States in 1931. In 1966, he began his Catholic leadership as a bishop in Brownsville, Texas, a small town which had lacked experienced religious guidance for many years. Medeiros flourished in this environment. He stood with Cesar Chavez and the Mexican Americans in their fight for workers' rights. Medeiros was actively involved with the community. He marched in their peaceful protests, held mass for the workers, and donated $1,500 to their cause. In return, the people looked up to him and were willing to follow his ways because his actions proved they could trust him. With the support and trust of the people and his own drive to help, Medeiros was able to make a difference in Brownsville, Texas. This was not the case in Boston. Medeiros was appointed cardinal in 1970 after Cardinal Cushing's retirement. Cushing had been in the religious leadership position for 26 years. He was the only cardinal many people had ever known, and they were not ready to switch cardinals, especially if the new leader was not Irish. Cushing's long reign and great popularity set a bar for Medeiros which he could not live up to. Cushing had well-built connections with the community because he was a part of the community as an Irish cardinal in an Irish city. While Cushing's heritage gave him an advantage, Medeiros was not so fortunate. Medeiros was Portuguese, making him an outsider in the Catholic community. He was met with closed minds, unwilling to accept him as their new bishop. When told their archbishop had already spoken on an issue, one senior priest snapped, "My archbishop is 6 feet under," showing he would not accept Medeiros as his cardinal and was still deeply hanging on to Cushing's leadership. In addition to their ethnicity, Cushing and Medeiros also had very opposing personalities. Cushing was comfortable in the community, making it easy for him to interact with people in an informal manner. He was an avid sports fan in Boston, throwing the first pitch at Fenway, and would ride the bumper cars at Nantasket with the nuns. Medeiros was the polar opposite. He was very formal and disconnected from the community. In attempts to integrate with the community, Medeiros tried to take after Cushing by taking the nuns to Nantasket, posing for pictures, and attending sporting events. These efforts only went so far, as Medeiros was not a sports fan and did not enjoy watching the fight during a hockey game. He stuck out like a sore thumb in Boston, with his darker complexion and traditional Beatonese rituals compared to Cushing's casual and modern attitude. As a result of these barriers, Medeiros was never able to have as great an impact in Boston as he had in Brownsville, Texas. When he abandoned his post, Cushing took his personality with him, but left behind his debt, making it Medeiros' responsibility to resolve it, making him yet even less popular when asking people for money. During his service, Cardinal Cushing raised large amounts of money to build churches, schools, hospitals, and other infrastructure. However, the people started to lose faith in the Catholic Church, and the church soon began to run out of money, but Cushing continued to spend. This led to a huge debt and not enough supporters to resolve it. When left with this debt, it was impossible for Medeiros to both fix it and support busing, because the people he needed to ask for money were against busing and would never donate if Medeiros supported it. Due to his inherited debt, Medeiros was not able to take a stance on the issue. He was afraid he would be discriminated against and looked down upon for his ideas and would lose even more control over his diocese. The church could not even effectively offer moral advice because people were looking less and less toward the Catholic Church for guidance and were especially reluctant to turn to a Portuguese American, an outsider, for advice on an issue in their own terrain. Even if Medeiros did speak out, his impact may have still been limited because of the Catholic Church's declining power. In just 2 years, attendance at Mass declined from 75% to 55% of Greater Boston's Catholics. With Medeiros' lack of guidance, there was no one to tell the people that their resistance against Boston school buses was repugnant. Therefore, they continued to believe their behavior was acceptable. Cardinal Medeiros was able to provide guidance and impact the small town of Brownsville, Texas. However, due to the debt, subconscious racism, shadow cast by Cushing, and the weakening influence of the Catholic Church, Medeiros was incapable of making an impact during the Boston busing crisis. Medeiros' inability to provide moral guidance during the busing crisis allowed the people of Boston to be led astray by the influence of society's hate discrimination.